Okay, there we go. Good evening, everybody. It is 6 IPS now. Let's get started with this week's check-ins. Those stations that wish to check in, please go ahead now. ZS6 IPS standing by.
This is a Sierra November Yankee with no traffic from my side.
Okay, acknowledging ZS6 SNY. Any further check-ins? ZS6 IPS. Okay, let's check ZS6 if I've got it right. ZS6 Sierra Hotel November. Good evening there to you. Just confirm that I've got the call sign right. And give us your name, please. ZS6 IPS standing by. Okay, good stuff there, Stephen. Welcome aboard. I think it's the first time you've come up on the net. I wonder if you're one of the new amateurs, but we'll check with that a little bit later. Let's see if there are any other check-ins for this week's weekly net. ZS6 Oscar Papa Sierra standing by. Right, 1904. Let's do second last call for check-ins. ZS6 OPS standing by. Okay, nothing else heard. Last call. ZS6 IPS still standing by. You know, had Nick and Philip and Dave ACC not come up this morning, this repeater would have been dead the whole day. Eh? Okay, nothing heard. Good evening, everybody. I think we're going to kick off and get started with the weekly net. Today is Sunday, the 11th of December, 2022, and the time now is 19:05. Stephen, just as a matter of interest, grab pen and paper. I'll give my cell phone number in a minute or two because you might be interested in joining us on Zoom. As I was about to announce that those wishing to join this net using Zoom may do so, as Zoom is now open. If you do not have the Zoom link, please contact me on WhatsApp 082-859-2684. And I'll send you the link with the greatest of pleasure. We usually begin with the amateur radio check-ins on the Rudderpoort repeater 145.625, and once completed, we continue with the net. Greetings to one and all, and welcome to the net. This net is broadcast every Sunday evening from 1900 and is broadcast on amateur radio as well as Zoom for the benefit of both radio amateurs, disaster relief CERT volunteers, and members of the general public. Everyone is welcome to join the net and to participate using either of these platforms. Okay, ZS6 OPS returning. I would like to remind all amateur radio listeners who have not checked in that you do not need to be a member of any group or club to check in or to use the repeater or any of the amateur radio bands. All that is required from you is that you have a valid amateur radio license issued by ECRN. The ECRN license automatically grants you the right to use any of the amateur radio bands at any time, and there is no need to ask for or be granted permission from anyone else in order to do so. Also, be advised that this weekly net is not broadcast for the benefit of radio amateurs only or the disaster relief CERT volunteers, as this net is open to all members of the public who may wish to join using Zoom. I therefore would like to encourage you to all share the weekly net Zoom link with everyone they know throughout South Africa. Doing so will help us grow the weekly net and will contribute to disseminating information as far and wide as possible. Right, ZS6OPS returning. Okay, it's time to unpack the weekly COVID-19 figures. Globally, I see that George, let me just acknowledge George, ZS6GRG has just joined via Zoom. Good evening, George. And I'll continue unpacking the COVID-19 figures. Globally, the reported COVID-19 figures are at 648,981,647 compared to last week's figure of 645,188,902. This is a total increase of 3,782,000 new cases having been reported this week compared to the 3,778 reported in the previous week. That equates to a 382,000 new cases having been increased on compared to the previous week of 344,000. I think I've missed a digit there, 382,000 compared to 344,000. The death toll globally is now at 6,652,688 compared to last week's figure of 6,640,819. Again, we see an increase this week on a week-by-week average of 11,869 deaths compared to the 10,379 increase in the previous week. That means this week it's up by another 1,490 on the weekly increases. So COVID-19 is definitely not subsiding at all. I must also remind the listeners that several countries have adjusted their testing and reporting protocols, and South Africa has been one of them. Okay, so that ZS6OPS returning after clearing the timeout timer. South Africa, on the other hand, has seen a decrease in new cases for this week, ending the 3rd of December 2022, that is week 48. This week, they only reported 1,761 cases and 86 deaths. Now, last week, it was 2,633 cases and 36 deaths. Therefore, our total number of cases has decreased by 872,000. However, the positivity rate has also come down and is now standing at 11.9 compared to the 12.1 of the previous week. What was surprising this week was to see an actual increase of 50 deaths compared to the previous week's figures. So that's a little concerning. Moving on to Mpox. Mpox has now been reported at 82,594 cases globally. This is as at the 9th of December 2022. compared to the 81,351 in the previous week. Again, this globally, the cases have increased by 1,243, which is lower than the previous week's increase of 2,200. South Africa has again not reported any new Mpox cases or deaths, and still stands at 5 confirmed cases to date. So that's still good news. Now, just a reminder that the World Health Organization has officially made the announcement that monkeypox shall now be referred to as Mpox. I think they're trying to bring this into some politically correct or animalistic correct, I don't know what it is, sort of concept. Okay, ZS6OPS returning. Just generally speaking, I'd like to cover the incident that occurred on Friday morning. That's Friday, the 9th of December, 2022. And I know that there's a lot of listeners out there and skeptics out there that are actually of the opinion that ultimately, at the end of the day, you know, it can never happen to us. And unfortunately, on Friday morning, we definitely saw an incident which definitely was not expected in Gauteng, even by myself, a seasoned disaster management practitioner. I never expected to see the amount of damage that occurred as a result of the flooding, and not just flash flooding, but overall flooding with the amount of water that came down. Between 2300 hours 30 on Thursday night, the 8th, and 0600 on Friday, the 9th of December, I personally recorded in excess of 100 millimeters of rain. My pool, which I have not filled for the last 8 years, purely due to the water restrictions and cost of water, I decided I'm not going to fill the pool. And on Thursday night when I went to bed, it was probably about a third full. Friday morning when I woke up, surprise, surprise, it's filled to the brim. I estimate approximately 40,000 liters of water was collected in my pool. Being a 55,000 liter pool, I estimate approximately 40,000 liters of water having been received by my pool literally in a 7-hour or 6.5-hour period on Thursday night. Needless to say, the remainder of the West Rand has suffered some extreme flooding. For those of the radio amateurs that have not followed what transpired on social media, we've had Hendrik Potgieter being flooded in several places. All the rivers or streams, let me put it to you, we don't have rivers, we've got streams. We've got little streams, things that you don't even notice, that suddenly appeared and popped up. Structural damage, walls that have collapsed, premises that were flooded out. Even Adrian ZS6SNY has been collecting water in his basement. And so much so that even my backyard at one point on one of the lower lying areas of the wall, ZS6OPS returning, we in actual fact, I in actual fact had almost 1 meter high level of water. I've got marks on my precast walling to prove the low level marks. So that was quite extensive water damage just in and around the premises on top of the hill. Those in the low-lying areas, unfortunately, have suffered a lot more damage. And when we move out towards Eldorado Park, Lenasia, and parts of Soweto, reports by search and rescue organizations had to rescue many people out of their homes. Some of them were actually transported out of their homes on canoes. One of the buses got caught in Soweto. 65 of the commuters had to be rescued from the bus itself. And then, of course, the Klip River, that they went for a total ball. People out in Eikenhof, in actual fact, have been flooded. Some of the plots on the southern side of the Klip River have in actual fact suffered damage to their crops and to their properties. And of course, one of the residents, even on the previous time that we just had ordinary rain, you know, here in the region of about 50 mils, and the Klip River rose slightly. The comment was, well, now it's time to start the recovery of the bodies because they tend to, in actual fact, start floating downstream. Now, to date, I haven't seen any reports of any loss of life. Property damage, most definitely. Some of the aerial photography of the various areas is not something that was expected in Gauteng. And this, again, just highlights the need for not only radio amateurs, but families of radio amateurs, families of general public members in general, that should in actual fact start getting together, training and being prepared to assist others in times of disasters, in particular when it comes to things like this. There were other reports of various of the hostels, or at least one of the hostels in particular, over the Alexandra Township area where the roofing had actually been removed. The entire roofing structure of the hostel had been removed. Unfortunately, no reports indicated where all the metal sheeting had ended up. Let me clear the timer. Right, ZS6OPS returning. On the particular statement of where the metal sheeting of the roofing had gone, well, you know, one might think, well, doesn't make a difference. Actually, it does, because that roofing being taken off by high winds under speed can decapitate somebody, and these are the things that we need to start considering and looking at in a rather earnest and serious light and manner. One thing that we definitely do have to take into account is, for example, I attended an aviation webinar, safety webinar, approximately a month ago, and SA Weather indicated that the expected rainfall for this particular summer season would be way above average compared to previous years. And we need to start taking this seriously. As radio amateurs in particular, our childishness as far as radio communications is concerned really needs to be brought to an utter and absolute end moving forward. Ladies and gentlemen, that could be your family, could be your child, it could be your wife, it could be your husband, that can lose their lives during times like this. And I think this is something that our communities in general need to start looking at in a very serious light. Outside of that, not much to report internationally. Also, very little happening on the disaster front at the moment in general terms. So nothing to report on that aspect. And I think it is on that note that I, in actual fact, would like to, in closing, encourage everyone to register as a disaster relief cert volunteer. Please feel free to get your family, your friends, your mates, your work colleagues to make contact with me, 082-859-2684. And of course, I must make it quite clear, Disaster Relief Cert is not an amateur radio organization under any circumstances. That message definitely needs to go out and be known by all. However, we will make use of radio amateurs within the non-government organization, and we definitely are on a recruiting spree to bring in not only radio amateurs, but their friends, their family, their colleagues, because many volunteers are needed countrywide to make a difference. So ZS6OPS returning. So that being said, let's see if there are any other late check-ins who wish to be added to this week's check-in list. This is ZS6OPS standing by. Go ahead. Okay, nothing else heard. Is there anybody, Stephen? I know that you were out there. George, Adrian, give me a thumbs up if you want to ask something or add anything at all. George, was that a thumbs up or thumbs sideways? Are you still deciding? Okay, no, he's shaking his hand, so I'll take it as a no. And Adrian hasn't indicated as to which way. Okay, he's giving me a thumbs down. Stephen, if there's anything you'd like to ask or add, please go ahead now. There's 6 OPS standing by. Okay, let's just check if Stephen's still there. ZS6 Sierra Hotel November, ZS6 Oscar Papa Sierra. Okay, nothing heard. I wonder what's happened. Maybe got a call, gonna get coffee, take a walk down the passage, whatever. Hopefully he'll come back. Okay, I'd like to thank all those who have checked in this week, as well as to those who have joined via Zoom. I'd like to thank all the listeners out there and still encourage you to rather check in and don't be afraid. We don't bite your head off, others might do, but don't worry about them. Their bark is worse than their bite. And as the COVID-19 pandemic is still ongoing and is still infecting millions weekly, please remember to physically distance yourself and to wear a mask in order to protect others, especially the elderly who could lose their lives if they are infected with COVID-19. Generally speaking, it's always best to sanitize or wash your hands on a regular basis. So for the week forward, be safe, be prepared, and of course, be happy. This is ZS6 OPS now releasing 145.625 for general use. Cheers all.